Very happy to see all of you today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming over this evening. So we will continue with our Bhagavad Gita discussions. So today we are due to do the 25th and the 26th verse of the 6th chapter. So, so we will read the Sanskrit of both the verses first, and then I will read the translations and purports together. So text 25 goes like this. Does everybody have the copy yet?
I'll share it.
No.
Share the. You share? Okay.
Mataji, in this, this book it is 279. 625. 279. Yeah, everybody ready? समय सनैर उपरमेद बुद्ध्या धृति गृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मना कृत्वा न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत् शनैर उपरमेद बुद्ध्या धृति गृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मना कृत्वा न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत्
शनैरुपरे मद्वा बुद्ध्या धृति गृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मना कृत्वा कस्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्
न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत् शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृति गृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मना कृत्वा न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत्. Mataji, शनैः उपरमेत्
बुद्ध्या धृति
गृहीतया
आत्मसंस्थं मना
कृत्वा
न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत्
शनैरुपरमेत्
बुद्ध्या धृति
गृहीतया
आत्मसंस्थं मना कृत्वा न किंचित् अपि चिन्तयेत्.
Okay. So we'll read this verse and then go to the next verse. So word to word. Sanai gradually. Sanai step by step. Uparamed, one should hold back. Buddhya, by intelligence. Dhriti gritaya, carried by conviction. Atma samstam, placed in transcendence. Mana, mind. Kritva, making. Na, not. Kinchit, anything else. Api, even. Chintayet, should think of. So translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So translation. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Again, gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Purport. By proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually cease sense activities. This is called pratyahara. The mind being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from the senses should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. So, text 26. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmani eva vasam nayet yato yato nischalati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmani eva vasam nayet. So I proceed to the word. Or does anybody want to recite? You can go ahead.
Yato yato
nischalati
manaschanchalam
astiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmani eva vasam nayet. Anybody else?
Yato
nischalati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyamaitat atmanyeva vasam nayet. Prabhu, you wanted to recite?
Yes. Yato nischalati manaschanchalам astiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmani eva vasam nayet.
Okay, so word to it. Yatha, wherever, nischalati, becomes verily agitated. Mana, the mind. Chanchalam, flickering. Astiram, unsteady. Tata, from there. Niyamya, regulating. Itat, this. Atmani, in the self. Eva, certainly. Vasham, control. Nayet, must bring under. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Again, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Purport. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady. Again, the nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady. But a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind and therefore the senses as well, is called Goswami or Swami. And one who is controlled by the mind is called Godasa, or servant of the senses. A Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesha, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness. That is the way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Again, what is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminate Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So, okay. As you all know, we are doing the discussion of the 6th chapter, which is titled Dhyana Yoga. Yes. So the chapter before this was talking about Karma Yoga. And the chapter after this will actually be talking about Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so before we begin today's discussion, or rather I would like to begin today's discussion with a pastime from Srimad Mahabharata. So Mahabharata, we all know that towards the end of Mahabharata, there was a gambling game between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, right? Kauravas were Pandavas' cousins. And the Pandavas lost that match. And they, as per the deal, they were supposed to go on an exile for 12 years. And so while the Pandavas were on this exile, once what happened, there was a Brahmana. So they were all living in the forest. So exile, matlab they had to leave everything, right? They had to leave their kingdom, their possessions, everything, go live in the forest for 12 years. So while they were living like that, one day this Brahmana walks up to them in the forest and, he has a request to the Pandavas. So he tells the Pandavas that every day, what do Brahmanas usually do? They perform fire sacrifices, they perform yajnas, they perform homas, right? So this Brahmana had this habit of performing fire sacrifices every day. And so he wanted to, but then, there was a special wood that he was using for this sacrifice. It's called as arani wood or something like that. So he was every day, doing this with that special wood. But this particular day, he came to the Pandavas and he said, I need your help. Why? Because that wood is missing. So what happened? Suddenly a deer appeared out of nowhere and actually took away all this wood. And he said, I can't use any other wood. It's the forest, there will be a lot of wood available, but I have to use that special wood. And so he said, without that I can't perform the fire sacrifice. So he asked the Pandavas, if they can help catch that deer and, help them get that wood back. So the Pandavas agreed. And they left their hermitage and they went into the forest to find the deer. So all the 5 Pandavas, the whole day, they began in the morning and they started searching for this deer. So what would happen? Suddenly they would spot this deer somewhere And as they went towards that deer, as they went to catch that deer, the deer would disappear. And then it would appear somewhere else. And then they would go to catch that deer from there. And then it would disappear again. So it was like this, mysterious deer. But the Pandavas were very, very powerful Kshatriyas, right? I mean, they were conquerors of the whole world, practically speaking. So for them, I mean, not being able to catch a deer was like a challenge. So they started focusing very intensely. They forgot to eat. They forgot to drink water. They were very tired. They reached the end of the day, but they could not catch the deer yet. But they've already given the word to the Brahmana. They said, we'll somehow get you the deer and the wood, So, but then it was almost end of the day, so they retire and they just take rest wherever they are. And they're extremely hungry and thirsty, right? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, who's the eldest, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he asks Nakula, who's one of the Pandavas, right? So he asks Nakula to just climb up a tree and actually see if there is any water source available, if there is a pond or any, water available in the vicinity, because they really wanted to drink water. They were tired from the whole days, trying to catch the deer. So what does Nakula do? He goes up the tree, he spots a pond over there, and then he comes down and he tells Yudhishthira that there is a pond here. So Yudhishthira Maharaj says, all of us are tired, so we'll stay back here. If you don't mind, can you just go get some water for all of us, right? And then Nakula says, yeah, sure, I'll go get it. So he goes into the forest towards that pond to get some water. So as he goes near the pond, he sees that cool, refreshing, cool water, natural water, and he wants to take a sip. And out of nowhere, a voice, he can suddenly hear a voice, right? He can't see anybody, he's not able to see anybody, but suddenly the voice says, this pond belongs to me. And if you want to drink water from this pond, you have to actually answer some questions. I'm going to ask you some questions. You have to tell me answers to those questions. And if I'm satisfied with your answers, then I will give you permission to drink this water. Otherwise, if you drink water from this pond, you will all die. So he says that. Nakula just ignored, because he can't see anybody, right? He ignores that voice. And more than ignoring, he's so overpowered by thirst, he feels helpless and he takes a sip and he dies. He falls to the ground and he dies. A while passes by, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj realizes that, Nakula went into the forest so long ago, he didn't come back. Anything could have happened. And then he sends Sahadeva to go find him. Sahadeva goes, and the same thing happens. Once he finds the pond, he wants to drink water from there. The voice appears again, says the same thing. He ignores the voice. He takes water from the pond. He drinks it, and he dies. Same way, then after some time, Yudhishthira Maharaj sends Arjuna, and then he sends Bhima. All of them go there, but they're all very powerful warriors, right? But the thirst is so intense, they yield into it and they take the water and they drink and they all die. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj realizes after some time, all 4 of my brothers went, none of them have returned, something is definitely wrong. So he goes himself. So he goes to the pond, and then over there, as as he is entering that place, he sees all 4 of his brothers fall into the ground and he's heartbroken. The Pandavas are known for being very dear to each other, right? So he is very upset with this, and he's suddenly taken over by so much grief. And then this voice appears again, and it says, I want to ask you some questions. But all your brothers ignored this, and they went ahead. Now, if you give me answers to my questions, and if I'm satisfied with it, then you can get your brothers back and you can take water from my pond. Because I am the proprietor, this is my rules. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj is, of course, he's like, yeah, of course, sure, anything to get my brothers back, So he says, okay, go ahead, ask me the questions. So this voice starts asking him questions, right? So the first question that this voice asks to whom? Yudhishthira Maharaj is, Yudhishthira Maharaj, what is more faster than wind? in this world? What is more faster than even wind in this world? And then any answers?
Mind.
Wow. All of you are like Yudhishthir Maharaj. Amazing. Right? So everybody is over class clothes, you know what it is. You know how mind is, you know everything. Yeah. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, then the voice says, yeah, okay. So then he says, okay, second question. Now, what is more innumerable, or what is more infinite than even the blades of grass in all the world put together? In all of the world put together, blades of grass, right? Can you count the blades of grass in all of the world? No, it's infinite, innumerable. What is more innumerable than that? Yudhishthir Maharaj says, okay, let me think, any answers? Guesses?
Thoughts.
You're brilliant, Mataji. Hari bol. Yes. So Yudhishthir Maharaj says, yes, it's the thoughts of the mind. Right? Or in other words, it's the desires of the mind. Now forget about previous lifetimes and all that. In this lifetime, since our birth, can we possibly count how many desires or how many thoughts we've had?
No.
Is the mind quiet for even a single second? No. I heard a joke, right? So what is that? There was a devotee who was sitting in the class, and this happens all the time. We can be preparing for an exam, we can be sitting in the class. Physically, we are very much here. We will be nodding with full intensity. But the mind will be like, "Arey, tomorrow is Monday. Oh my God." And these people are going on with the same thing. When is it prasadam? I don't know, lunch. My lunch was so light. I want some prasadam soon. And I just want this class to end soon. Yeah, just 20 minutes. Okay, it'll be done soon. So this is the speed of the mind. And these are the various thoughts that we get, right? So, sorry, I lost the thread. What was I saying?
Desires, innumerable desires.
Yeah. So the mind, so we have no limit to the thoughts. And, if we actually think, the reason why we are all sitting today, the reason how we've all landed here is in some form or the other because of the desires and the thoughts we've had. Do you all agree? Yeah, all of us are in India. 99% of us here were born in India. And somewhere somebody told us life in US must have. Super have. Okay? You have to go there. Money, full money, yes. You have to do a lot of dishes. Like in India, you won't get help, but your life will be beautiful over there, right? And then somewhere we were like, wow, okay, the grass on the other side is definitely green. India, it's okay. What is there in India? Pollution, population, same thing again and again. There it's nice. Even if there is pollution, it's a different kind of pollution, It's very nice. I have to go there. It's okay if there is racism, it's okay if they shoot me, whatever happens, it's okay. I want to go there, right? Desire. Example of that desire, right? So, and then I'll just, I don't know about your journeys, but mine, it started off when, for example, and it's also, our desires come also because of our surroundings. Sometimes we don't want to go. Sometimes it's the pressure of the parents. Like, for example, my parents, it was my mistake to do well in my studies. When I was in 3rd standard or 4th standard, they said, this girl is studying well. She has to become a doctor or an engineer. 3 Idiots movie. One of the two only, nothing else, no other choice. Right? So they said, no, 10th standard you have to get super marks so that you get entrance into the college. And then I stopped playing, I stopped doing everything, and because it was only studies, everything. I had to get A+ in everything. So study, and then reach 10th standard, get good marks, and then come to college. A little bit freedom is given, but again study. Why? You have to get a good rank. Otherwise you have to give lakhs of rupees, right? Lakhs and crores of rupees to become a doctor. So then study, and then you had to study over there. And then they said, you get a medical seat, your life is done. Your life is set, they said, right? I said, okay, wow, okay. Got into medical school, and then I was like, you know what? I got cheated. Somewhere I was like, this is too much for me. But then I was like, they told me, no, once you become a doctor, everybody will give so much respect, You know what respect is there for people in the society? How much money you'll make? Do you know? And then I said, okay, and then somewhere in between they said also you can do service to people outside, they said those things. I said, okay. And then we graduate, you come out, and then they're like, no working in government hospitals. You have to go to big hospitals. You have to work there, right? And then you started working, and then they were like, okay, now it's time for your marriage. You have to go get married. And then they were like, in US, there's a lot of scope for doctors. Go there. You get so much money. Go there, right? So it was just never ending. We came like this. We did this. And then this is my story. This is the story of almost everybody, right? Everybody here. And then we can't blame everything on our parents. We also had desires, right? We also thought, whatever they're describing is beautiful for me. Fantastic. So at every step in life, we kept thinking, there is something more. There is something more. There is something more. Till you got married, you were like, wow, my life is going so nice.
He opened the secret.
Prabhu said, after my Katham, he said, I didn't say, Prabhu said.
Like that.
Prabhu said,
He revealed the
Katham,
secret.
right?
He revealed the secret.
Yes, Prabhu revealed this. Katham. Then your life takes one step back. You're like, okay, And then by then you're in your 20s, late 20s. And then it's like they say kid. One kid, and then they say 2 kids. It might be, I know it's getting boring, but just think of, this is what is happening in our life, no? We're just going with the motions. What is all of us doing? We're just carrying on with those motions, right? And then like this, what will happen? What is happening? What did we see happen to our elders? What happened? They finished their 30s, they finished their 40s, Bacha, they became big, they graduated on their own, we reached 50s, and as somewhere we're reaching 40s, 50s, midlife crisis hits in. You're like, arey, what is this? Same life, same thing. And now Sunday also is added to my schedule. Sunday also I'm not free because they're asking me to come to the temple. I have to come here. What? It's just such a boring life. No kick only in my life. It's the same routine, it's the same boring thing. And then sometimes you don't have time to think about that also because the kids overpower your life so much. You're like, I don't know what is happening. The years are just going by, right? It's just going and going and going. And then gradually when we are in our 40s, 50s, so we start noticing that, okay, everybody, the atmosphere around us starts changing. We start, our bodies start changing. Women start hitting menopause. Lot of hormonal changes, lot of mood swings, lot of things are happening. And then gradually, everybody that we grew up with, everybody, that we felt dear to us, slowly, one by one, everybody is passing away, right? Our parents, when we are in maybe our 40s or 50s, if we're lucky enough, we can stay for, a little longer. But everybody, our parents pass away, our friends, everything becomes distant. And even before we realize, we are towards the end of our life. What is our lifespan in today's day? Maximum. What do you think? 70. 70 is decent. 70 is decent, right? You name it on the whatever factors, but that's the case. But the point is, and then suddenly what happens? Suddenly towards the end of life, all of a sudden we don't know how time went by. We don't know what we did. If you ask any of us, okay, what did you really do? I just did what is expected of me, right? I'm expected to marry. I'm expected to have children. I had children. I raised them nicely. I gave them the best education. I did everything. This is what everybody does. So I'm just, what do you want me to do, Mataji? Now what do you want me to do? You want me to leave everything and go? No, nah. You must be thinking in your mind, right? But that is the thing. And even before we realize, we'll hit old age. And old age has its own problems. We don't know if our spouse will be there with us. We don't know how our body will be. Our children we might get future daughter-in-laws, we might get future son-in-laws. They will hit us and they will, get hit when, the cycle goes on, right? So the point is, and then one fine day, this is generally what is happening in everything around us, for everybody around us. And if you carefully take one step back and if you realize, what is it that you did in your whole life? If it can be summarized into 4 major categories, what will it be? What did you do the majority of the time? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Now, we've also heard, right? Animals also do the same thing. And they follow their instinct. They just do what they want, just feel like doing, they just do. But we do with some norms. We feel like, oh, what will the society think of me? What will the community think of me? We have some norms. So we sort of dovetail it and we try to do it very sophisticatedly. Eat that kind of food. Eat and cook, cook in those kind of pots, do those kind of things. I mean, and somebody might, sleep on a very comfortable bed, or somebody might sleep on the floor, or, whatever. But majority of the time in our life, what are we spending on? These 4 things?
No, one more thing. Mobile.
Yes, right. That is amazing. Yes, now we have an added distraction also. Thanks, wonderful that will be. But yeah, so that is also there now. So the point is...
sorry for that. That's the majority of the time we take it.
Yeah, because we even forget eating, sleeping, right? We don't eat. I mean, we don't even realize we're eating because when we are with the phone, we don't. And even we don't know when we're falling asleep because the phone will be falling on our face. We'll be sleeping on the bed and it'll be falling on. We don't even know how we're falling asleep. And as soon as we wake up, what is the first thing that we look at? Mobile.
What's the time?
Prabhu, you are very nice. I think you look at the alarm clock. But, oh, how many messages on WhatsApp? How many on Messenger? Oh, this is what happened on Facebook. Okay. And then work also, some messages will be there. It's okay, ignore. I'll log in a little later. I'll think about that later, right? Like this, time will just go. But yeah, and then one fine day, the time will come. That same person who's with us all this while, or us, we will reach the final stages, and then the fear, the most important fear of life will start. Death. Right? Oh. Till then also death can come anytime. But we wouldn't have realized, like, is there any guarantee for when we live till, will we reach old age? There is no guarantee. But that time it hits us even more hard, right? How will I die? Heart attack? Or cancer? I don't want heart attack, I don't want cancer, I don't want stroke. I just want to sleep peacefully in my sleep and pass away. That's what, usually, because, why? Because we're so scared of that form of death. But this is exactly what the Shastras have told us, right? You do only 4 things. I mean, this world is made up of 4 things. Everybody in this world, animals, all the 840,000 species, including human beings, have to pass through those 4 things, which is what? Birth, death, old age, disease. Is anybody an exception to this? Is Ambani an exception to this? Biden? Osama bin Laden? Oh, he's not here anymore, but yeah. Nobody is, whether you are the most horriblest person, whether you are the best, whether you've had the most beautiful, any celebrities, can they live any longer? With all the Botox and with all the anti-aging and with everything, can they reverse the aging? Can they reverse the number of their aging? No. Isn't this the hard fact? And we don't want to face it, but isn't this hitting us in the face? Right? Yeah. And then one fine day, when someone passes away, the person that you remember with the same faces, how you identified, with 2 hands, 2 legs, that person, that face, is still right there, right in front of you. But then you say he's gone. But he's there in front of you. That same body is there in front of you. But you're saying he's gone. What is gone? Soul. So that means the soul is what is keeping us going, right? So that's the thing. So all this problem, this whole, ordeal of 60, 70 years that we passed through, so boils down to the same thing. On what basis, who controlled it? Yes, the mind, undoubtedly the mind controlled it, right? And so, like the animals, we concluded that we are doing the same thing under those 4 broad categories, but we're doing pretty much the same thing and in just better ways. But can there be some difference? And why should there be a difference? Right? Because there is something called as intelligence, which is higher than this mind, right? And we have to take input from the intelligence and work. That's how it functions. And the Bhakti, the whole Bhagavad Gita is trying to teach us that. Especially now, the sixth chapter, you must have wondered, right? We've reached the 25th verse. But up till here, everything was talking about, in some form or the other, Krishna is saying, control your mind. Control your mind. And Dhyana Yoga especially means meditation, right? So meditation, again, he says in this verse also, control your mind and then thereby your senses, because if your mind is controlled, your senses are just going to listen to what your mind says, right? They also are automatically controlled. And then you just do what you have to, you just follow the mind. So Krishna is saying control the mind. Why? Because that is the essence of yoga, right? Yoga means connecting to the Lord, connecting to the Supreme. We all know that, right? So the essence is to connect it to the. So the essence of that yoga is to control the mind, because that is the main player here, right? That is the game changer here, right? So that is why so much emphasis is given to change the mind, control the mind. Now, here we are talking about Dhyana Yoga. So specifically, what does a yogi do? That is one who is in meditation, one who is in following the 8 processes of mystic yoga or whatever. How does he control the mind? By concentrating on the self, right? He meditates. He goes to a secluded place. We've read all that, right, in the previous verses. He goes to a secluded place, sits in an erect position, focuses his, vision on the tip of his nose, and then completely withdraws all his thoughts. And then he meditates on the self, which is the soul. But the same thing, that is what Krishna is telling when you read the translation or when you read the Sanskrit. And that is what it means also, because Krishna is talking about Dhyana Yoga here. But if you read the purport, if you read the explanation given by Srila Prabhupada, what does he talk about? Does it seem like he's talking about Dhyana Yoga? Does it seem like he's talking about someone who is doing meditation?
No.
Then? Bhakti Yoga. So what is Prabhupada saying there? So Prabhupada is saying that, in other words, I'm just reading from the purport of the 25th text. In other words, although one is involved with matter as long as material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self, which is Krishna, right? So, thinking of Krishna's pleasure, okay, how and why should I do it? Why should you do it? Because just like when you're hungry, when we're hungry, what do? Now the hand does its work, the legs do its work. But when you're hungry, you have to feed only the stomach. Can you separately feed the hands and the legs?
No.
If you have to water a tree, you have to water the roots. Can you touch upon just the leaves? Can you sprinkle water to the leaves? No. So and automatically the hands and legs get energy, right? And when you water the tree also, automatically the whole tree is nourished. So the same way, our existence is linked with the Lord, whether we want to or not, right? So we can use this human form of life to either connect it and link it to Krishna, which is very, very, very simple. Much simpler than Dhyana Yoga, right? I mean, thank God nobody is asking us to go to the forest. How will we stay without the phone? What will happen to us? We can manage without oxygen. I mean, if someone, how will we manage without the phone? The thought itself is very terrifying. So that's why we don't want Dhyana Yoga, right? But that's why for Kali Yuga, especially for Kali Yuga, Bhakti Yoga is something that is glorified in all the yugas. It's since time immemorial. That is the nature of the soul, and that is what we're supposed to do. But all the more for Kali Yuga, it makes absolute sense because you cannot perform any other yoga, right? Especially Dhyana Yoga. Okay? So then we can quickly go to the 7th chapter because we have nothing to do with the 6th chapter. But anyways, I was just kidding. But 7th, coming back to the point. So when Prabhupada says here that one should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self, how do you do this? So this is Bhakti Yoga. So even though Krishna in the translation is talking about Dhyana Yoga, Prabhupada is directly talking about Bhakti Yoga because Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. There are so many ways. These are just like steps in a ladder. Karma Yoga is one step. Next step is Dhyana Yoga. And the step above that, higher than that, is Bhakti Yoga, right? So you can take any step. Finally, you will reach the goal. But then why not take the step directly, right? So that is in the next line. See, Prabhupada is saying, this state is easily attained by directly you are associating and relating with Krishna. What is the most important and the most effective way in which you can relate to Krishna? You can connect to Krishna immediately. Perfect. By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But can we do this all the time? No. That also is not possible by us, right? Because we have so many things. Again, the mind will tell, Are really? You have kids dependent on you. You want to sit and chant all the time? That's possible. You have a job to maintain. You have so many things to do, right? So whatever we are doing, we can simplify it even further. Whatever we are doing in our day-to-day activities, from the time we wake up till the time we sleep, or at least try to, maximum of the time, somehow try to think of Krishna and try to see how we can dovetail any activity that we are doing for the pleasure of Krishna, then we are automatically following Bhakti Yoga. For example, right, you have potatoes at home. I'll just give you an example. And you want to eat potatoes, you like potatoes, you'll cut them, you'll peel them, you'll cut them, you'll make them into fries, and you'll eat it. What is that? Karma. That is karma. You want to eat it. Why is it karma? Because you're doing it for your senses. You are doing it because you want to eat aloo fries. I mean, you want to eat fries. So, you are doing this. But why is it karma? It's karma. I went to the shop. This is my money. I went to the shop. I paid the money and I bought the potatoes. Mataji is laughing. And how is it karma? Am I taking my neighbor's potatoes and eating? No. How will I get karma? But did you grow the potatoes? Somebody grew it. Somebody harvested it. So does it belong to someone who grew it? No. How will he grow if there is no sunlight and there is no water? Oh, so it belongs to Surya Dev. How did Surya Dev get his power? So there is all, you see the back tracing? So like that if you see, is there anything that belongs to you? No, this body belongs to me. Belongs to me now? That also you want to take away from me? What? How can you say this body is not me? It's like you sitting in a car and saying, I'm the car. As soon as you sit in the car, do you become the car? The car is just used to go from one place to another. But who is the real deal? I mean, who's the real person inside it? The driver. Right? The control, the engine. The car will just park wherever you leave it. And then after, does it have any demands? Yeah, it needs some petrol, we just need some food. But other than that, some needs are there, but anything like the mind, is it rampant like the mind? No, poor body, right? Wherever you put it, whatever you do exercise, you don't do exercise, whatever you do, it's okay. Mind, I'm not listening to you. I will do what I want to do. It's just like a child. It's, my son Govinda. Why should I listen to you? I will do what I want to do, right? But we know that there is an intelligence which is like the parent, which tells the child that no. So intelligent means what? In our regular colloquial terms, intelligence means, IIT graduate, Harvard graduate. Oh, that person is so intelligent. That is not real intelligence. You know why? Because again, that Harvard degree, IIT degree, everything he's using for what? For what? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Right? So how can you call him intelligent? He's doing the same thing as an animal. But can you tell an IIT graduate, hello, excuse me, you're an animal? No, right? You can't do that. So that's how it is. So, so I was talking with the potato example. And then, so that is karma, first example. So now suppose you bring it home, and then you're like, every Sunday I'm going to this class, they're asking me so much offer. Please offer. Please offer. Please. You just put one Tulsi Mataji and just tell one Hare Krishna Mahamantra and you offer Mataji. So I feel so guilty, and they told me so much that this potato doesn't belong to me. So I have to, okay, fine, I will offer, right? And then so you'll make the same fries and you'll be like, okay, Krishna, here, take it, please. Please take it, because I don't want karma. I don't want karma. Again, I don't want all this, Fine, you take karma. And they scared me so much in the Sunday class, so you please take it, right? So like that, if you give, what is that? What is that? What does that become? Yes, of course it becomes prasad, but
Without love.
yes, without love. But in terms of your attitude, what, Prabhu?
Without reactions.
Yes, without reactions. Karma is with reactions. So like Prabhu said, you're not going to get any reactions and it becomes prasadam. So that is equal to karma yoga. You know that nothing, you're aware that nothing belongs to me and this actually belongs to Krishna. So whether you like it or you're not, you will offer it. I'm not saying all of you do it like that, but I'm saying, you offer it. But if someone sees beautiful potatoes. Okay, now this is the spring and the summer season, right? We're getting so many varieties of fruits and we go to a strawberry harvest festival. You see the strawberries and you're like, wow, these strawberries are so beautiful. They're coming from Krishna. And imagine if I offer it to Krishna, he'll be so pleased. And then, so therefore you buy the strawberries and then you go home and then you offer the strawberries just like that, or you make a very nice pie out of it. And then you offer it to Krishna because that is pleasing to Krishna, then that becomes fantastic, right? So the potato is the same, the fries are the same, you even offered it, but what is the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga? Yes, with love, intention, yes. Or in other words, it is consciousness, right? Consciousness means what? Awareness. You're aware of who? Who are you offering to? Krishna. So that is awareness of Krishna. Consciousness of Krishna. Krishna consciousness. So it's so simple, you don't have to complicate it at all. And like this, Prabhupada gave us very simple examples. For example, you can be drinking a glass of water. And just you can think that the taste of this water is Krishna. Ah, Krishna, my God, it was so good, that glass of water. You're thinking of Krishna. You are not doing any of the jnana, you're not going in a forest, you're not sitting, you're not doing anything, but you're automatically in the higher ladder than that. You're doing the topmost thing. And any of these small activities that you all are doing, you all are amazing because you all have controlled your mind and have bought it. Sunday, your mind, I'm sure, gave you so many challenges, but you all have managed to bring it here, right? So that we just have to do that and somehow perfect that art of trying to love Krishna by the end of this life. Every religion teaches that only, right? It's very simple. Treat Krishna like a person if you take some form of a deity, like small deities, or like Laddu Gopal, or even a photo if you have in your house, relate to them, talk to them. They're not simply sitting there like that for you, right? And at the end of life, I mean, who's going to come? Is there any guarantee? But one person will surely come. Krishna, yes, if you do Krishna consciousness through life, but one other person will definitely come. All of you all just know everything. Wow. I read a joke. Sorry, last joke, I'll finish this. On Uber, right? A person orders a Uber car, and then a Uber arrives at his door. And as he's going out, he sees Yamaraj has arrived and is waiting for you in the car. Is waiting for you. But that Yamaraj was the driver. So this person got scared and cancelled, his Uber. So, but the point is, Yamaraj will still come, whether you like it or not. And none of everything that we are doing, but we have to perform the duties, just like we discussed now, right? We have to do whatever we are doing. But we have to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Somehow you have to think. And how to relate it to Krishna? I just gave an example of offering food, right? But if you actually want to think of Krishna, there are 101 ways, because it is not hard, because he's there everywhere around us. Right? So that's all. So coming back to the 26th text, the purport, if you say, so when you do this, when you're always thinking of Krishna and you're not thinking of your senses, automatically your mind is controlled. Your mind is controlled, right? So you're automatically doing mind control, whether you like it or not. So that's what is, in the purport it says here, right? A Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. That means he knows that the happiness that arises from these senses is very temporary, is very flickering. It's like our discussion that we did, right? What next? It's like that, So, but that is the way of bringing the self. Oh, sorry, I missed in between. Yeah. So, in transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesha, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses. For the senses to be purified, what else has to be purified first? Mind. Right? Because the senses are only telling what the mind wants. They're only trying to do what the mind wants. The mind wants this, so the senses are like a way to get it. Right? So the senses will become purified when the mind becomes purified. And when will the mind become purified? Yes. Or in other words, when you purify your intelligence, or intelligence means knowledge, right? When you purify your knowledge. What knowledge? Again, not IIT Harvard knowledge. What knowledge? Yes, knowledge that we are the soul, Krishna is the supreme. Knowledge, or in other words, discriminatory power, right? You should be able to discriminate between what is good, what is bad. Oh, this is... Because after all, that's the difference between us and animals, right? That is the only difference, intelligence, right? So we have got this rare human form of life, and so we have to make use of that. And then, so, look at this last line, it is so powerful. No, before that is the way of bringing the senses under full control. Purified senses, you engage in Krishna's service, you don't have to make a special effort. Matlab, you don't have to go to the forest, you don't have to do penance, you don't have to do all those complicated things. Automatically they're under control, and you are getting a lot of pleasure, and you're not being bound into this material world. Win-win in every way. Right? And if you die in the process somewhere in between, in your next life you will get another chance to continue this. You're not going to be, your future, in other words, will just be secured. So that is the way of bringing the senses under full control, right? So what is more? That is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Or that's what Prabhupada is saying. In other words, Bhakti Yoga is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Yes. So, yeah, anyway, so I'll end here. And if you have any questions, we can take it up now.
what happened to the Pandavas after that?
I know I wanted to continue, but yes. So the voice actually is Yamaraj, and Yamaraj, if you know, is Yudhishthir Maharaj's father, right? And we know that Yudhishthir Maharaj had never met his father before, right? He was born through mantras from Kunti Devi. So he actually meets him, and then all the brothers come back to life. Actually, the voice goes on to ask few more questions, and in that one question is very significant, and that question is, he asks, what is the most astonishing thing in the world? The voice asks Yudhishthir Maharaj, right? He asks two questions, no? The third question is this: what is the most astonishing thing? And Yudhishthir Maharaj says that everybody around me thinks that they are not going to die, right? It's like in a slaughterhouse, the goats, they're all lined up for slaughter, but they feel that they see the other goats getting slaughtered also, but they happily are sitting and eating grass. They think, Arey, why do they slaughter me? Me, I am spared, I will not get slaughtered, right? So Yudhishthir Maharaj says that the most astonishing thing in the world, surprising thing in the world, is that everybody is thinking that my number will come somewhere, I know, but it will come when I'm 60 or 70 years. Abhi to nahi. Is there any guarantee? No. So that's the most astonishing thing. Time and again, we have seen everybody in front of us. We know what is happening, and we know how everybody passes away. And we've heard so many stories of young people passing away and so many things like that. But still, we think we are going to stay here forever. So, Yudhishthir Maharaj says that that's the most astonishing thing. But yeah, anyway, to conclude the story, then Pandavas come back to life, and Mahabharata continues, and Kurukshetra happens. Bhagavad Gita is told, and we are here discussing today. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for patiently listening. Hare Krishna.